Hey team, welcome back to another movement session. We are going to take a couple of the concepts that we worked with last week, revisit them in a few of these different movements, but again we're going to break it down into three pieces today. We're going to move, we're going to play, and then we're going to connect. So we're going to do a nice general warm-up, something that gets everything going, some a little bit more specific work for some of the play work that we're going to be doing later, and then we are going to play around with a couple different movements. And some of those new things today are going to be basic backwards roll, and the other one is going to start to look at some jumping. So I'm super excited for this, so let's just hop right into it. First off, we are going to just start in a nice tabletop position, and we're just going to work and get that spine moving a little bit. So I'm going to take that tabletop position this way, and knees underneath those hips, hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to start in that nice neutral spine position. And we're just going to tuck that tailbone under and start to round that spine up towards the ceiling. Nice and controlled. And then we're going to reverse that. That head can come up slightly. And we're just going to start to extend through the spine. Finishing with those hips again. I'm going to rotate those hips the opposite way. Sticking that butt out. And then tucking it under. And just keep moving through that. Trying to smooth it out as best you can. No rush to this. And last one. Start to round all the way up. And reverse. And we'll just relax, come back to a neutral position. So we're just gonna stay seated nice and comfortably. I'm gonna try to sit up nice and tall. And we're just gonna get into that neck a little bit. So I'm just going to tuck that chin. We're just going to just do a nice little circle to one side so I can drop the ear to the shoulder. Keep coming around, opposite side, and we'll reverse the directions. So we'll come back the opposite way. Again, try to keep that nice tall posture as I come through here. Keep that chest open. Come back again. And one more time each side. Tuck that chin. Ear to the shoulder. Head comes back. And we'll reverse back to our start position. Good. Just shake it out, relax. We are going to do kind of a similar motion, just working our way down into that mid spine. So I can cross those arms. I'm going to slightly round, flex forward. Again, I'm just going to think about making that nice big circle. One way, and then again, reverse back opposite direction. Dipping that shoulder, opening up through that chest. Coming back, we're going to do one more each direction. And then again, just go ahead and settle and relax. So we're going to get into the shoulders a little bit. We're just going to take those arms straight out to the side. And I'm going to think about rotating at the shoulders so they stay straight, not really tilting like this. And then from here, I'm just going to rotate one palm up as I rotate the other thumb down. And then I unwind and come back the other way. So just a little bit of rotation through that shoulder, rotating it in, and then unwinding it, externally rotating back out. One more time each side. It's kind of like you have a wet dish rag and you're trying to wring that thing out. Good, and we'll come around, we'll relax again. So from here, we're going to some nice arm circles. So I'm going to lead with that thumb up. I'm going to try to keep those ribs tucked down. Once I get stuck here, we're going to think about that rotation at the shoulder again. So I'm going to rotate, thumb comes down, and then I'm just going to reverse opposite direction right away. more times on this side. Again, I'm trying to keep those ribs under control. I'm also trying to avoid any rotation here, so my opposite shoulder is not coming forward. And last one on this side. Again, leading with that thumb, I can rotate, come through. I'm going to lead with the pinky. A little bit sooner to have to rotate that shoulder to keep coming forward. We'll relax that side. I'm going to go to the opposite side now. So again, I'll set those shoulders back, set those ribs down. So maybe keeping a little bit of tension in those abs. And then from here, we're going to lead with that thumb. Once I get to that little sticky spot, I'm going to start to rotate. So I rotate kind of like I'm high-fiving the wall beside me. Keep coming through. I'm still leading with that thumb. And then we're just going to reverse. Reach all the way back to that back wall. So just rotate through and back. Good. Go back to the side. And last one on this side. Rotating around. I'm going to start to rotate through that shoulder. And arm reaches back. Coming through. And then just go ahead and relax. So we're going to keep moving a little bit through the chain here. We're actually going to go down to the wrists. So we're just going to come back into that tabletop position. And then from here, we're going to just do those nice shoulder circles. So my hands are shoulder width apart. I can lock myself in by turning the pits of the elbows slightly forward. And we're just going to just keep working those circles. And we'll reverse directions with that. And slowly we're going to find our way back to the center, so we're nice and even in both hands now. We're going to get back into our palm raise. So we're going to think about lifting both palms off the ground so the fingers stay on the ground. And then I'm going to slowly control them back down. And we're just going to keep doing a couple of these palm raises. If you need to, remember you can always bring your knees closer to your hands to take some of the weight off. Okay. So again, from the side. Good, and we'll just take a second to just, again, shake those out, loosen up a little bit. We're going to take the hands, we're going to take the back of the hands onto the mat, fingers pointing back towards us, and now, again, we're going to work that action of turning the pits of the elbows forward, and then just relaxing. So I'm just going to keep kind of pulsing through this, hold for a second with those elbows, pits forward, and relax. And then again, just go ahead, shake everything out. We are going to come into a seated position. We're going to start to work that lower half into those hips now. And again, we're just going to start with those hip swivels. So we did this last time. We just think those knees at that 90-degree angle, and then we're going to just let them just drop to the side. I can support myself with the hands behind to just make sure I keep that chest up, I'm not collapsing. And the knees just fall from one side. And we'll just wipe them over to the opposite side. So as we're doing this, now let's bring our heels a little bit closer to our butt. So they have kind of like less than that 90 degree. They're a little bit closer. And then from here, we're going to practice, again, coming up into that tall kneeling position. So at first, if I need to, I can assist myself with my hands to just push myself up a little bit. I'm going to try to open up, bring those hips forward, so I'm up on both knees, nice and tall. I can hinge the hips back so my butt's nice and close to the ground. And then I'm just going to switch sides. And no hands. Perfect. So we're going to change our position here a little bit. We're going to come into a kneeling position. So our feet are going to be flat onto the floor. If you've done any kind of like martial arts, like Japanese martial arts, called a seiza position, you spend a lot of time in this position. So right now, just kind of getting comfortable, letting those ankles kind of get used to opening up a little bit, just sitting up nice and tall. Now that we're here, we're going to just bring the hips up a little bit, and we're just going to tuck those back toes. So I'm going to start to shift my weight back, and this might be a little intense at first, so you might have to take it nice and easy here, but we're just going to spend a little bit of time, see if we can get those toes just moving a little bit. So it can be a little uncomfortable at first. From here, now what we're going to do is we're going to shift ourselves forward again. And I'm going to take my feet a little bit wider. So my toes are still going to be tucked here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rock myself back a little bit. So rocking forward, rocking myself back. And then I'm going to see if I can rock myself all the way back, or I can use my hands to walk myself back, and just to our nice resting squat position. So my feet should be roughly hip width apart, maybe slightly wider than that. The toes might be slightly turned out, just a little bit. But I want to see if I can get my heels down onto the ground, and those knees tracking over those toes, so not collapsed in. So here, and then we're just going to find the ground. We can walk ourselves back up. I'm going to untuck the toes, come back into a seated position. Now we're going to do that movement all at once. So I'm going to rock forward, tuck the toes, and rock myself back into my squat position. Rocking forward, feet flat. If this feels pretty good, I can start to play with using those hands a little bit less. So rather than bringing the hands forward to reset, here, I can start to use them just a little bit lighter. If it's available, I can also see if I can just bring the knees forward and just come into a seated position. So now I have to work with shifting those hips again, shifting that weight. So if this is too much, just go back to that first version, using those hands to help you up, help you back down. And over time, we can play with getting used to just shifting our weight and our knees forward and back like that. Perfect. So now, from the seated position, what we're going to do is I keep the feet flat when I start, and we're just going to step up. We're going to step up into a lunge position. But when I step up, I'm going to turn that knee out to the side. So my knee that's planted on the ground is still forward, and the leg I step up with, we're just going to turn to the side. So essentially, I'm just opening up into this 90-degree position. From here, I'm just going to sit back down. I'm going to come to the opposite side. So we're going to turn, and our whole body should turn, and we're just facing 90 with that. So up. You need to use your hands. But it's the same idea. We're just thinking extend, bring those hips up, nice tall kneeling position. So now, this time when I do it, I'm going to step out to the side, here, and then I'm going to start to bring myself back down to the ground with my legs straight up still. So it stays up, I'm going to start to come down towards the ground, and I'm going to plant the opposite hand from the leg that's up, down onto the ground. So an easy way to think of this is it's just going to go on that same line as your knee, as that bottom knee, straight out to the side here. So that's the movement. We're also going to add a little bit of a twist too. So I'm going to take that opposite hand, and that's going to go towards the ceiling. So here, hand slides down, ooh, and back up. So let's set up for the opposite side. Ooh. Here, I'm going to come into my tall kneeling position. Hips go one way, hand goes out to the side, and then back up. Kneel, So notice when I reach that hand down for the ground, I don't come from here and fall down. I actually bring my hips down first, so I'm nice and close to the ground, and then my hand can find it nice and easily. Okay, so from here, come into our kneeling position. We're going to hinge to the side to find the ground. Now, using that opposite base, we're going to kick that back leg through our window. We're going to keep our hips up nice and high. Bring that leg back, hinge back up, reset. Hips come up, boom, up. I'm going to hinge down. Plant my hand, find some stability there. Kick that leg out. We're going to keep those hips nice and high into that bridge. Bring that leg back through. And up. So you notice I pause at each step. I make sure my feet are in the right place. I have balance and stability before I make that next move. Hinge those hips. Reset. Last one. Out. Hips go one way. Hand goes the opposite. Finds the floor. And kick that leg straight through. Keep those hips nice and high. Leg comes back. Hinging up to that tall kneeling position. And then again, we're going to reset and take a little bit of a break here. So now that we're all probably pretty nice and warm, let's get into our play portion. So we're going to play with this rolling motion, this backwards roll. So the first thing we're going to do is just start with that nice little rock. I'm going to pull my heels close to my butt. I'm going to attach myself by holding those shins. I'm going to keep the knees into the chest. We're going to keep this position so we can just roll back and just start that nice little rocking motion. Now we've rocked it out a little bit. We're going to start our first movement that's going to take us and carry us right over the shoulder so we can complete this roll. So what I'm going to do a little bit different now is that as I roll back, I'm going to take and think about taking my opposite leg over top of my opposite shoulder. So I'm going to take my left foot, I'm going to try to place it on the outside of my right shoulder. When I do this, when I come back, just to make it easy to find my ear to the ground and keep my head off the ground and have something to pivot over, I'm actually going to take my right arm up to the side at the same time too. So it's going to look like this. Here. So both my feet should land on the outside of my body on the right side. You'll notice when I'm coming back, my head's not touching the ground. I can think ear to the ground, and I'm going to keep my head up. So here, I'm actually pivoting on this shoulder, on that right shoulder. And that's all we're going to do. We're just going to stop our momentum there, get used to bringing those feet to the opposite side. I'm going to push off, so roll back to the start. If that feels pretty good, try it on the opposite side. So that left arm's going to go out to the side. We're going to take those feet, kick them over, bring ourselves back. Again. So you'll notice that that arm, again, it's straight out to the side here. Here. If I send it too far back, I'm probably going to just have a hard time clearing. I'm probably going to roll over my own arm. So just think that it's coming straight out to the side. Ear can come through. find the ground. I'm going to push myself back. So the next part is we're just going to now continue that motion all the way back. So instead of pushing myself back to the start, we're going to here to the ground. Now I'm just going to think about bringing my head, poking it right through that opposite arm. And I should hopefully be facing the direction that I started at. So again, rolling onto that shoulder, not the head. Feet come to the opposite side, and I can use that little bit of rotation at the shoulder to help pivot over as I come through. One more time. If you have a good side, or if you feel like you have a good side, just stick on that maybe for today and see if you can really get that motion, get that flow of it coming through. And for now, we're just going to find that seiza position again, or just that kneeling position. So even though we're rolling from hip to shoulder, I still want you to think about rolling in a straight line. Sometimes the tendency is to think about rolling to the shoulder and we just collapse and start to fall over here. I still want to go straight back with this, so I end up on the same line. So again, let's play with this a little bit more. Let's add an element from last week's training. And all it's going to be is we're going to add our front crawl into it. So as soon as we finish that backwards roll, here, I find my kneeling position, hands come to the floor, tuck those toes. We're going to crawl back to the front of our mat, plant a leg, and I'm going to sit back out. So I just do my sit out, and that gets me back to my start position. So again, we're going to start with our backwards roll. Come from our kneeling position, forward, kick that leg through. If you have a little bit more room, you can definitely take a couple more steps with that front crawl, kicking through, and then back. Let's try that a couple more times. If you're having trouble with that, stick on just trying to learn and smooth out that backwards roll. Once you get a couple backwards rolls, break it up. You're just going to crawl back to the beginning, work that kick out, get set up, practice that backwards roll here, and then just set up before your crawl position. If it's going real smooth, see if you can start to make that action, again, a little bit smoother. You might even have enough room to do a couple rolls and then crawl back to the beginning. So, a little dizzy even after 2 rolls. Something fun, again, to start to link and flow these things together a little bit. So our second portion of our play, we're going to take a look at jumping. And first off, what we're going to think about is kind of our position when we're doing this. So it's very similar to a lot of kind of like athletic movements where we're using those hips to generate our power. I want to be able to keep a nice posture position, hinging those hips back, loading those hips so I can use that explosive force of the hips opening in order to power this jump a little bit. So let's use the hands to help us too. So at the same time, as my hands go back, as soon as they pass my hips or my thighs, that's going to load those hips up. So again, you notice that hips have gone back, but I keep that nice flat back position. As I come forward, the arms are going to start to swing. As they pass through, I'm going to open up those hips. So I'm going to squeeze my butt as hard as I can. So arms come back, forward, open it up. Now we'll just speed that up a little bit. If that feels pretty comfortable, we'll just add a little bit of a hop. So I'm not going to do my max hop on the first go. It's just nice and light. Again, when I land, I'm gonna see if I can land nice and soft. So I'm almost going back into that same position. I'm gonna absorb that. You know, just like a toe heel, I'm not landing on those heels. I also don't wanna land too heavy because I don't think my downstairs neighbor would like it too much. So let's just practice a couple of those jumps. We're going to practice that loading. That's that little switch. Boom, arms come back, lifts up. I can keep those hands out to kind of counterbalance when I catch myself. We're always just going to reload. I'm going to start from a nice standing position. Here. Once you get used to that, you don't have to slap your thighs as much, but the timing's the same. Back, up. Nice light landing. So the most important thing, I think, when you're first learning this, is actually the landing. You want to be able to land nice and soft, nice and safely, so you're not in a kind of compromised position and really absorbing, taking that impact. You want to be able to kind of redirect and absorb it really nice and efficiently. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a turn to it. So we're going to add a 180 turn. So you should be facing the back of the room after you do this. So the power is going to be the same. So it's the same load here. We're just going to jump, turn that 180. Again, see if I can land in the same spot, and I still want to see if I can land nice and soft. So again here. You can also think, starting that rotation, is I'm going to start to turn and look in the direction that I want to go. So here, my head turns, and then my body follows. Here. Back. Okay? So we have our little jump 180. You can try both directions. Again, see if you can practice that landing. See how soft and kind of ninja stealth-like you can be. Nice and quiet. Okay, so we had our two little things to play with this week. That backwards roll. Really focus on getting it nice and smooth before you start to add anything else into it. And then start to break it down. Start to work that front crawl so you can make just that nice continuous pattern. Like we learned last time, that transition piece that we've been working, that leg being able to come through, that's really handy in being able to get us from one position to the next. So my front crawl immediately can change directions here, so I can get into that backwards roll. All right, so what we're gonna do in our final piece is we're going to connect that 180 jump with one of our crawls that we did last week. And we're going to connect it with the monkey crawl. So the monkey crawl, again, starts in that low squat position. So we want those heels down, should be nice and comfortable, resting down here. I'm going to reach across to the side, plant the hands, and we're going to hop or float those feet behind the hands again, trying to land in that nice squat position. So once I land, I should be able to get those heels on the ground, kind of just sink nice and comfortable in it. Just like we did with the jump, we want to see if we can land nice and quiet too. So nice soft landing, not jumping up and crashing down. See if you can really be nice and intentional with how you place those feet. So in this drill, what we're going to do is, when I say go, we're going to jump, do our 180. I'm going to call a direction. So if I call left, we're going to drop low into that squat. I'm going to think, kind of like I'm going off at like 45s. If I go left, I'm going to go forward and to the side slightly, monkey crawl in, and then I'm just going to come back the same way. I'm going to reset. So again, go, we're going to jump, land. This time we're going to go right. In, back out, reset. So notice that once I come through, I'm not trying to rush through this. Boom, left. I'm going to make sure that I do a nice little crawl in, crawl out. I'm not rushing the process. Just try to make it nice and smooth first. Does that sound good? So I'll be doing it at the same time. Might look a little funny because I think we won't be totally mirrored, but just listen to the cue for the direction that you're gonna go, and then just wait for my signal too. So I'm gonna try not to be super robotic with it, and just in and out, so we can kind of play with that a little bit. So we're gonna do that for 1 minute, then we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we'll do one more round. So 2 1-minute rounds. Again, no rush. Just see if you can really work each part of that technique, that nice landing, getting nice and low, being nice and quiet, getting that monkey in and out. Cool? So here we go. We're gonna set a timer for 60 seconds, and then we'll get to it. So, get yourself ready. Make sure that you have enough room behind you that once you spin around, you have room for that crawl in and out. And we're gonna go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Left, in, out, or reset. Go. Right, in, out, go. Right, go. Left, go. Right, go. Left, go. Left, go. Right, and time. So we're gonna have a little break there. We're gonna do one more round, just like that. But now we're gonna have the option of, we do our landing, we're going to monkey crawl in, and I can do my backwards roll as that second movement to bring myself back to the start position. So I can stick with what we've been doing, jump, crawl in, crawl back, or I can do my jump, land, crawl, kick that leg through, and then I'm just gonna reset again. Cool? So you can mix and match that up. You can take your time, try to make that nice and smooth. Here we go for our last round. In 3, 2, 1. Go. Right. So I can do the same. Monkey in, monkey out. Reset. Go. Left. Kick. Roll. Reset. Go. Left. Go. Right. Go. Right. Go. Left. Go. Left. Speed it up a little bit. Go. Right. And go. Left. And time. Okay. Nice work, gang. I hope you had fun with that little combo. It's also cool to have that little kind of command you have to react to, a little bit of reaction time. Try to figure that out, integrate it with the movements that we've been working on. Hopefully you found a little bit of kind of smoothness through there, a little bit of flow and some coordination. So for this last little piece, let's just make our way down and see if we can bring ourselves back down a little bit, bring that breathing back down. Just going to place the hands on the sides of the abdomen. And we're just going to really focus on just some nice big breaths. Just feeling that nice rise and fall of the abdomen. See if we can really fully exhale each time. Last one. Long exhale. Yeah. Okay, so I hope this practice kind of served you well, and enjoy the rest of the day wherever you are, and we'll see you in the next one.